Meeting for Lincoln Way Community High School District 210 to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance if you're able.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you please call the roll?
Dana Berthold.
Here.
Katherine Johnson.
Here.
Joseph Kostick.
Here.
Richard Lassine.
Here.
Caitlin Olenek.
Here.
Deidre Stokes. Aaron Janik.
Here. In the absence of Ms. Stokes tonight, we will have Dr. Berthold serve as Secretary Pro Tem. And with that, we will hear from the Student Council Presidents. Who would like to go first?
With that being said, I want to highlight all the great things about Lincoln Way Central to finish up the school year and thank all of those involved that made it happen. First, the LWC Pure PE class traveled to Lincoln Way West to partake in the special games, an action-packed day where our special education students and their peer buddies participate and compete in different activities. Moving on, our band and orchestra had their final concerts last week, celebrating the farewell of all seniors and their hard work that they put in throughout their LWC music careers. Next, our teachers and staff were honored during Teacher Appreciation Week with many festivities for the school to say thank you before summer break. Just a few examples include students writing kind notes to be delivered to teachers and a mobile coffee truck that delivered coffee to the staff one morning. Also, the LWC prom happened just a few weeks ago at the Odyssey in Tinley. Students celebrated at the social with costumes, dancing, and festivities like a bull riding machine and an inflatable meltdown agility game. The dance itself was spectacular with diverse food choices and a fireworks display at the end of the night. Students had a blast at this event before many of us close out our high school careers. Finally, last Friday, the Nightmares celebrated their state victory one last time by hosting a school-wide tailgate before the baseball, softball, and lacrosse games. Students played cornhole, sang karaoke, and indulged in free hot dogs and ice cream sandwiches. The Nightmares then honored Principal Dr. McNamara with the state championship banner at the baseball game afterwards. Looking at athletics, softball is currently 23-1 and looking to continue a strong season heading into the IHSA postseason. Isabella Dimitrovic recorded her 1,000th strikeout against Lockport on May 1st. This is the first time in LWC history that this prestigious accomplishment has occurred. Baseball is currently 15-9 and second place in the SWSC conference with a 10-3 record. The baseball team will start their postseason run in a few weeks. Girls and boys track have started their postseason runs and have strong state contenders in every event. Boys and girls water polo will begin their postseason with sectional playoffs this weekend. Boys volleyball looks to win a regional title in a few weeks as they also start IHSA playoffs, and girls soccer has earned the number 2 seed in their respective IHSA sectional and are looking forward to a deep postseason run. Congratulations to Coach Sean Fahey on winning his 100th career game as the girls' head coach here at Lincoln Way Central with a win over Bradley on May 8th. This concludes my final speech about the school I've called home for the past 4 years. I want to thank the board for giving all of us students such a great community, and my principal, Dr. McNamara, for blessing me with the privilege and opportunity to represent my class. Thank you very much.
Okay, before you step down, Jameson, a little bit. We're not.
I'd like to hear your plans for next year. Where are you going?
Plans for the future.
So next year, I will be attending University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, and I will study engineering. I haven't decided which one yet, but I'll pick sophomore year. So
We got something for you here, Jameson. Come on up. Congratulations. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you very much. University of Illinois. Thank you very much. Great job. Put that down there. Thanks, James.
All right, next up.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Amelia Peterson, the president of Student Council at Lincoln Way West. As we reflect on the incredible year we had at Lincoln Way West, it's important we look back on some of our incredible accomplishments. First, let's talk about prom. This year's theme, Under the Sea, transformed Tuscany Falls into a magical ocean escape. Huge thanks to the staff, volunteers, and chaperones who helped bring that vision to life. Earlier this month, Lincoln Way West hosted the Lincoln Way Special Games and rolled out the orange carpet for this year's District's 210 event in our Special Games era. This day was a hit, filled with joy, glitter, and grit. Thank you to everyone who helped make it such a meaningful and memorable day full of support and sparkle. A number of Lincoln Way West students have recently been recognized across a wide range of areas, from scholarships and academics to fine arts and athletics. Each honor reflects the time, dedication, and passions our students have invested, and we're proud to celebrate their hard work and achievements. I'd like to highlight the incredible success of our Gigi's Playhouse Snack Drive. The outpouring support from our student council was inspiring. This drive reminded us that service and compassion is within all warriors at West. Now we look forward to one of our most significant milestones of all, graduation on May 17th. It's a time to honor the dedication, resilience, and growth of our students. I cannot wait to celebrate our seniors as they take the next step into the future. Finally, I'm so grateful for all that Lincoln Way West has done for me over the course of my high school career. West has created so many opportunities for all its students and drove every one of us to do our very best. I'm so proud that I've gotten to call myself a warrior, and I would like to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this amazing school to all of you this past year. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's hear your plans for next year.
I plan on attending the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, where I'll major in nuclear med technology.
Excellent.
What is nuclear medical technology? No, I have no idea. Sounds way above my pay grade. You gotta do all the right.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alana Vargas, and for the final time, I have some Lincoln Way East news for all of you. As we wrap up another successful school year, I would like to share with you some of our favorite moments from the last 2 months. To start, one of our favorite memories from the spring was our junior and senior prom in downtown Chicago. Spending the night at the Museum of Science and Industry will be a memory shared by all. Hundreds of us had the privilege to tour exhibits, take fabulous pictures, and dance the night away before heading back home. Prom 2005 proved itself to be a successful experiment. Another fantastic memory from the spring was the 2005 Special Games. We kicked off our Special Games week with Spirit Days dedicated to our students who have looked forward to these exciting challenges and competitions. The highlight of the week was seeing everyone dressed up in their best Taylor Swift themed attire. These Spirit Days, as well as the game themselves, created a week full of the best smiles. Another fantastic memory from April was our Senior Scholarship Night. Lincoln Way East honored 169 seniors with scholarships from all over the community. Senior Scholarship Night was a chance for seniors to be recognized for their achievements, talents, and persistence. The scholarships they receive not only acknowledge their commitment to their school and community, but will also help to enrich their lives after high school and beyond. Speaking of seniors, this week we all woke up at 4 a.m. to come together and start our week of traditions with a senior sunrise beginning on Monday. We also had vendors in the cafeteria each day, photo booths, picnics, yearbooks, and so much more during the day. After our picnic today, we all were preparing for our tears, smiles, and goodbyes we will experience as we graduate this upcoming Saturday. As a final tradition for the end of the year, Lincoln Way East named seniors Tyler Fox, Jokia Mani, Jamie L. Sullivan, and David Scott as the 2005 senior standouts. These students were chosen for their extraordinary contributions to the school and the community. All 4 seniors will be recognized with framed photos in the Griffin's Lair and a QR code that turns their exhibits into an interactive mural. Visitors can watch a video dedicated to each student's accomplishments, which will display throughout the entire 2025 to 2026 school year. All amazing news aside, the Griffins worked endlessly all year round towards a summer break they had earned. The future is near and is promising, but the experiences and moments in time could not have been possible without all of you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for allowing me to be here today and speak on behalf of the school I call home. I love meeting new faces and sharing the details that unite this district. I hope all of you have a long and restful summer break. Thank you.
Thank you. What are your plans for next year?
I'll be attending the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign and studying the Gies College of Business.
Excellent. All right, we're going to move ahead, and we will now have the Read for a Lifetime Student Recognition.
Good evening. I am joined by two of our librarians, Jennifer Broman-Bender and Jennifer Steenman. They are here to recognize some of our students who have engaged in our Read for a Lifetime program this year as well as over the last 4 years. So I'm going to turn it over to these ladies.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Broman-Bender. The Read for a Lifetime program is a statewide high school reading program. Illinois high schools receive a list of 25 book titles. Students who read at least 4 titles receive a certificate of achievement from Illinois Secretary of State and State Librarian Alexi Janolius. The highest recognition is given to any student who reads all 25 titles for all 4 years of high school, and those are the students we have with us today. Lincoln Way has the highest participation in the state. For example, last year, Lincoln Way made up at least 50% of the students participating. Lincoln Way West had 58 students and 7 staff members complete this year's Read for a Lifetime program, reading a total of 561 books. 16 students and 1 teacher read all 25 books. 8 students participated all 4 years, and 1 senior read 25 books all 4 years for a total of 100 books. I would now like to introduce you to West's 100 title reader, Abigail Nash. And Abby will be attending the University of Alabama to study biology on a pre-med track. She's actually the 3rd student from her family to achieve this honor, and you will see 2 more members of their family here in a couple years. All right, here, thank you. All right. Next, I would like to share the participation numbers from Lincoln Way Central. This year, Central had 49 total participants in the Read for a Lifetime program, with 42 students and 7 staff members completing the requirements. A total of 424 books were read. There were 8 students and 1 teacher that read all 25 books this year. 2 students participated all 4 years of high school, and those were Ruby Hillegas and Nada Yassin. There were no 100 title club inductees this year for Central, but there are some strong readers coming up in the next couple of years, so watch out. Now I would like to introduce you to Jennifer Seaman from Lincoln Way East.
Okay, this year, we're fortunate enough, we have 5 people we will honor, 3 who are here tonight. But for our statistics this year, we had 89 participants who read a total of 1,118 books, 9 four-year seniors, 500 Title Club recipients, which is a huge number for us. The one year we had more, we had 8. That was the pandemic year. And Jesse White was supposed to come honor those students, unfortunately. So I'm very proud of the 5 that were able to carry on through this year. 33 students, or 32, and 1 staff member, Carol McCorkle, every year pulls through, read all 25 titles. So that tells us we have some strong readers coming up, especially the freshman and sophomore class. So our 500 title students, unfortunately Blaine and Nolani could not be here, but we have Matthew Hoppenrath. If you'd like to stand up. Matthew will be attending Michigan State University studying computational data science and analytics. Way over my head. And we have Kaylee Johnson, who will be She will be attending Oberlin College, study a triple major, I learned, history, law, and society. She will one day want to be an attorney. She's also going to be on the swim team. And Amanda Shuntz. Amanda will be attending Indiana University studying biology, and her end goal is to then get into their master's program for marine biology. End goal, marine biologist. So those are our stats for East, and we had a total of 9 four-year participants who we honored at a small reception one morning in the library. So thank you very much. Thank you.
I struggle to read one book a year, so I listen to a lot, but reading, yeah. All right, we have no one signed up for public comment.
Fantastic.
And we'll move on to the presentation portion of the agenda. We have the fiscal year 2025 amended and fiscal year 2026 preliminary budgets.
Lost a lot of the crowd. Guess they didn't want to see the presentation.
They're, co-
Nuclear biologists didn't care about next year.
they're not coming back, are they? All right. Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you. All right, so wanted to go over this is a succinct presentation, but this is the first time in my time doing the financial work of schools where I'm amending the current year, and I'm also drafting the upcoming year and trying to update a forecast at the same time. And that is because typically the fiscal year 26 budget, you would not hear me really talk about until maybe some very preliminary data in June and present it more in August and September. You'll see later the timeline for these things is different because we do not have 30 days between August and September. So that bumps the work up to the preceding May and June. So we're amending the budget, the fiscal year 25 budget tonight, as the board is aware, with the bond sales for not only life safety, but also the debt certificate to purchase buses. That's an influx of cash that we have to book and make sure that we record. So as long as I'm doing that, we went ahead and made some additional adjustments. I'll walk through those at a very high level. So in terms of the amended budget, what we have, as I said, booking both the bonds, but then we are reestablishing the use of our life safety fund. We're going to account for and record the bond money that you all approved from the bond sale for the life safety HVAC improvements at Central and East. It's very important to us to track that transparently and separately. And so we're reestablishing Fund 90, which is the district's life safety fund. The money will be there and it will be tracked separately for central expenses and east expenses. So that way we can account for the costs of the project, architectural, engineering fees, so on and so forth. While we were going through this process, we also did have contractor and architect invoices from kind of delays from last summer, planning for this summer, not related to the HVAC work. That we trued up in this budget just based on timing. Chuck has done a really good job working with our utilities broker and handling. I will give Chuck some credit. I wanted to contract our electricity and gas budget this year more than he would let me because he said, nope, I think that's not safe. We're going to see an uptick, and you'll see that we have for gas and we certainly have for electricity, especially with the ComEd delays. So we've accounted for that. We have made some other adjustments. Benefits, wanted to capture excess costs that you've heard me speak to about District 843, not just in transportation, but that budget continues to run high. And as you'll hear me say in the treasurer's report tonight, I'm anticipating somewhere in $250,000 to $300,000 over budget. So material enough that Kelly and I and some others in our office are kind of digging into what those costs will look like for next year and updating the financial forecast, because that's different than where we thought it was going to be. And then reallocating the tax levy, as I do every year. The tax levy money is the tax levy money, but I need to be able to put it into the funds where we need it the most to balance. And so when we go through exercises like this, I make adjustments just to make sure everything balances. This amended budget, we have $121,745,000 in revenue and $120,145,000 in expenses. What you will see in that yellow column, and it's in your packet materials if it's easier to see there as well, toward the bottom where you see transfers in and transfers out, what we do every year is out of an operating fund, we transfer into the capital projects. That's $4.5 million. But the number above it was not there before. That is the proceeds from the debt certificate for the buses. And so what that does, and I want to take time and make a special note on that, what that does is it increases our operating surplus this year. The money is in hand, well, it will be as of June 2nd. It will be recorded here. We will pay for 50% of the buses, and so you'll also see capital outlay about halfway down the page, up 180%. No, that is not something substantial that's changed that we didn't know about. That's just because we're paying for half the buses now. We're going to pay for half the buses after July 1st, which means that we will see an operating deficit planned for next year. There's nothing wrong. That's okay. We're just paying for the rest of the buses. We don't want to pay for them in full until they're received, on site, inspected, and all the rest. Changes from the original to the amended. We did tighten up salaries and benefits, so you'll see an increase in revenue in Fund 10, a little bit lower in Fund 20. Again, Fund 40, which is our transportation fund, you'll see that big influx of cash. And then toward the top table, toward the bottom, Fund 90, you can see $30,420,000. That's the proceed amount from the life safety bonds. In terms of expenses, $5,441,000 of change, but again, most of that is either money for the buses or an uptick in our capital project fund expenses that we think are going to hit the books before June 30th. So neither of those, in terms of day-to-day operations, affecting anything. With this budget amendment, what this table does is just sort of summarize revenues, expenses. You see this every fall as I do the budget, but what I wanted to make note of here is the third column. It's the second gray one from the left. You'll see a green number, and then on the far right, you'll see the other green number. That's the bond proceeds, and then we remain at a 34% operating fund balance. So the takeaways here, besides cleaning up the books, making some minor refinements, and just booking the bond money, there is nothing substantial that's changing. This is just something we want to do for the Illinois State Board of Education, for our auditors, to make sure everything's recorded properly. As we take a look at fiscal year 26, I mentioned the timeline that I can't bring you a tentative budget in August. So what I'm going to do for fiscal year 26 is I'm going to bring you a tentative budget in June. We will then take that budget and place it on display. Instead of being on display for 30 days, it'll just be on display till September. I'm sure my number of visitors will go from 0 to 0, and that's okay. But if anyone wants to, it'll be there in the annex. Topics we're considering, I do walk through it preliminarily with you the month before. Inflation has been adjusted, some of the predictions. So what I had in the 5cast for you all in October had CPI coming down, 2.2, 2.1. That's now predicted at 2.6 and 2.4. I do not yet have allocations for next year for our state and federal grants, for evidence-based funding, CPPRT. Those are some pretty big buckets of money. I'm holding them flat for now, but I know that those things will change. Obviously, as you know, we'll look at student enrollment and staffing trends. I know that Dr. Murphy and our team, they're finalizing in terms of master scheduling, hiring, so on and so forth. So because May is earlier and our June meeting is later, I have extra time in between now and the next meeting to be able to refine that, and I'll bring you something in pretty final form. Strategic initiatives we're considering, as you know, we have done some work on utilities and a new landscaping contract. So we are trying to take steps to control cost where we can and get better service. And then Kelly and I are working with our insurance brokers in terms of reviewing insurance. We're meeting in June. This is all the way for a calendar year renewal, but we're meeting now to see what opportunities we have to take a look at our plan for costs and options. And then the bid design work for life safety improvements and other capital projects will be coming in the next couple of months, as you know. So right now, with the assumptions that I have, we had this in the fall, and then I've updated what I can. I have operating revenues and expenses with the capital projects transfer at $3.5 million for the following summer. That's outside of the HVAC life safety work. This is your normal operating budget transfer for other projects. And I have us very conservatively at about 32% fund balance. So between now and then, the work that I will do, and of course, I would never bring you a tentative budget that would have us under that 33, unless there were some reason that you had guided otherwise. But that's where I have us right now. Both the amended 25 and this preliminary 26 will be updated. What you see on this slide is the 5-cast I presented to you in the fall. I'm working on updating that now, and will present more of that to you when I am able. And then the timeline I mentioned, in May and June, we'll work on that 5-cast, but on June 26th, what you'll see, and I'm just trying to do this to not confuse the two different fiscal years, because there's a lot of moving parts. On June 26th, I will bring I will recommend to you for adoption the final amended budget as a checkbox with the state, and then I'll bring that 26 budget in pretty final form to you for your consideration, and if you accept that, we'll put it on display. Updates as appropriate at the August meeting, and it won't be all the way until September that you would adopt that budget. Happy to take any questions you might have.
Any questions? When was the last time we used Fund 90?
That's a great question. We have not used it in my time here, and I would actually.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I don't remember a Fund 90, so. Okay. Any special?
It's been inactive for.
Do we need to do anything with the state to let them know we're reopening Fund 90, other than amending the budget?
No, we do not.
We have it.
We have the fund, it's just been inactive.
Okay.
And so we have accounts created. Kelly and I reviewed that, made sure everything's there. We're good with the state. We talked with the auditors. All is good to go.
And then when do the expenditures start then for Fund 90?
Good question. So most of the money, as you know, the projects are slated for summers 26 and 27, but we do have the architectural design fees. One of the things I want to do is work with DLA right now and make sure that the invoices that we're going to start receiving, that they tease apart what's for summer 25 and what's design work related to 26 and 7. Because when we have the proceeds, we can start paying that now. We could even have, I did not plan expenses in the amended budget to kind of cut checks out of that fund before June 30th, but we could, and if I bring that back in June, I'll know a lot more information then. But throughout, I would say, July 1 through spring, we could see several $100,000 in kind of ancillary or contractors giving us small invoices along the way. But what I am building into the 5-cast is fiscal year 27, because that's summer 26, is $25 million there and $5 million the following. It's not going to play out that cleanly, right? But that's kind of where I have it slated.
And then that money just sits there, we gain interest on it?
We do. We do.
Make sure we're not having the money sit there and do nothing.
Nope, it will be invested, and what I'll do is lock up as much as I think I can, and I might just leave a small sliver out for those small invoices that come through.
Kind of where I was trying to go, roundabout way.
Very well.
Any other questions?
When does the design team think they'll be far enough into the documents to make sure that we're in line with what we're looking to get done in this project?
I will answer you on a high level, and then I'll defer to Chuck or Scott for anything else. But our plan, I believe, is still to go out to bid in September. So they're doing all of that work now, and we will be meeting in June and July, reviewing that, refining it, making sure it's good to go in August, I would say. And then timeline is bids in early September, right?
Yeah, we want to come back. We'd like to come back to the September board meeting to get approval from the board.
So they're far enough in that they're not finding any surprises that they weren't originally anticipating? That's what I'm kind of asking, I guess? Not as of yet? Okay, good. Good. I mean,
No, they've gone, the surprises they already found were primarily at Central, and the designs are taking that into account.
Anything further?
No.
No? All right, hearing nothing else, we'll move on to the bond rating update.
Okay, good news. So,
Take a victory lap.
yeah, we're going to talk just a little bit here. Back in '22, many of you were members of the board at that time. We received an A+ credit rating. We got back up into a little bit better area. We refinanced over $130 million at under 2% at that time. We abated $3.5 million back. We saved the taxpayers nearly $25 million through that process. History of our bond rating, as you can see, it was a pretty drastic decline, and then it's taken 5 ratings to get ourselves back to where we started. So we are now at our high water mark after quite a bit of work. I want to thank all the people that have been involved, from Steve Langert to Mike. Kelly was part of the big slide with me, and then Brad Kaufman and I began. Brad and Kelly and myself kind of began the climb, and then Mike jumped in. So it's certainly been a adventure, but we're back up to AA3 in terms of our rating. That certainly helped with our bond sales that we saw here just recently. A couple things that led to the recovery, and we had these discussions with Standard & Poor's during our bond rating. I guess it's been about 3 weeks ago now, Mike, is that right? About 3 weeks ago, our discussion. We have a sizable tax base. We're highly reliant on property taxes. State of Illinois is a small percentage. Federal government is even smaller. So the fact that we can rely on our local property taxes was advantageous for us. We've balanced our operating results over several years. So we've had several years of operating surpluses, which played into the role, and then reaching the revenue target of 33% of our operating fund balance. We were able to do that. Our budgetary practices that we've put in place over the last really 8 to 10 years have also put us in a better position for these bond ratings. And then transparency in our reporting results, our formal fund reserve target, and our debt policy. Every year when our auditors come in now, we're within a couple $100,000 of our budget target, and we've really improved in those areas. I want to thank the leadership of the board and then everyone who's been involved. So something to celebrate, getting that better rating, which led to a little bit better rates on these bond sales. I'll let Mike kind of go over the bid summary and go through the particulars.
Sure. So Truist Securities was our low bidder. As you can see here, we had a significant interest. And this is, I think Bob Lewis, when he was here, spoke to this a little bit. What he said was very attractive about our bonds was that we have those little slivers in all of these years, but then anyone interested in bidding, there's a lot in those 2 years that they could buy up a big chunk in terms of the investors. And so that was attractive to them. As you can see here, we have 9 who bid, and Truist Securities came in at a 4.096 tick. And so that is full cost of issuance. It includes any underwriting fees and everything else with it. For sake of comparison, I know Lockport and some other areas were having sales a week ahead of us, 2 weeks ahead of us, and they were in actually smaller issues, so not as attractive, and they were in the 4.25 to 4.5. And so we were able to catch that.
4.5, Mike.
4.5. Thank you. So we were able to get a little bit better rate there. On the next slide, you see the debt certificate. Not surprising to see a fewer number of bidders on this, just because it's a smaller amount of money. But this was very advantageous for us. 3.4889 for the $4,465,000 for the debt certificates, and that is again to purchase the buses. As you know, the structure of the debt service not changed, but this is graphically the final after the 2025 bond sale. The debt certificate, remember, does not affect this graph at all. That is proceeds we get and we pay back out of operating funds. This is the life safety bonds that you see here with those 2 smaller years. Those are now under 15 million. I think that's important to note. And if you're wondering from what was presented, and that's what I made sure we talked through with Bob Lewis, is I wanted to know where we started in terms of what our assumptions were. versus where we ended. And so what you can see on this slide, I'll actually start at the bottom. Debt certificates were about 60 grand under, but the life safety bonds, we are about $1 million less than where we had us tagged in our earliest assumptions. And so that's good. As you know, we did Mr. Janik, to your earlier comment about investing the money, we did the present day cost, we did all the analysis of here are the proceeds we get, here's the benefit and economy of scale of doing all these projects, we're gonna invest the money, et cetera, and we're $1 million even better than that. So we're in really good shape and pleased with where these ended. Details of the bonds, final maturity, January 1, 2037. As you know, they're tax exempt, and we have that AA- rating by S&P. So as Dr. Tingley mentioned, and that other graph was a Moody's equivalent at the AA3, but we're back up to our highest level. So again, the truest securities underwriter for the life safety bonds, and Fidelity underwriter for the $4,565,000 non-callable tax exempt for the debt certificates. And that final maturity is in 2031. We're paying that back over a longer number of years, but once again, by buying the buses and maintaining them ourselves, we're keeping those buses a lot longer than the 5-year leases we've been operating under. Final steps on this slide, sale May 5, closing documents. We have, some of you actually have the luxury of signing about 30 different signatures, so I will require some of your time. But we'll work with Chapman and Cutler and PMA in the coming weeks, and then closing is on June 2nd. So I think definitely something to celebrate and good news for us and for Central and East and those project needs moving forward.
Any questions?
Never thought I'd get excited talking about bonds and HVAC, but here I am. No questions for Mike? Nope. All right, great job, everyone. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have items F1 through F7. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, can you please open the vote?
Voting is open. The vote is unanimous. Motion passes.
Next up, we have the presentation of invoices for April 18th, 2025 through May 15th, 2025.
Motion to approve invoices in the amount of $3,277,023.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Just have one. I know we talked about, or you mentioned earlier, working with the insurance. Looking here, we're about 1.2 million. A few months back, we were at 2 million, but I think that was timing issues. Is that where we're trending roughly monthly expenses, about $1 million to $1.2 million?
It has been. A couple of things. One, remember this now includes dental as of this last calendar year. So that's medical and dental combined. And then we're trending, and you'll see later in the informational section, Q1, we're trending about 101%. So we're trending a little bit higher. We'll see how the next quarter goes, but that's why we want to be working with Alliant. They've been able to find some pharmacy savings for us without an impact to plan design or anything like that. So, yep.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Hearing none, can you please open the vote? Vote is open.
It's open.
Probably just waiting on me to vote.
Yes.
Sorry, I had a question.
This vote is unanimous. Motion passes.
Next up, we have the treasurer's report for April 2025.
In April, revenues totaled $3.2 million, expenses $8.5 million. Total cash balance at the end of the month was $19.3 million. Through April, this fiscal year, 58.2% revenue, 80.8% spending. And this time last year, that was 58.0% and 81.6%. So we're trending right on par. I did mention earlier District 843 costs higher than originally planned, so that is something that we are reviewing. Investment report, liquid rates at 4.2. Right now, we're in our cash flow low point. So I haven't made any additional investments in the last 6 weeks or so, but as spring tax revenues are received in May and June, and the bond proceeds in early June, we will begin investing again. Cash flow report, positive $754,000. State caught up on categorical payments, and there was a little bit of a positive adjustment for evidence-based funding as ISB refined its calculations. Happy to take any questions you might have.
Any questions? All right, hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report for April 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can you please open the vote?
Voting is open. Vote is unanimous. Motion passes.
Next up is the student activities report for April 2025.
For the end of April, the fund balance was $2,443,244 with revenues of $807,263 and expenditures of $530,978. Two accounts were in the negative, smaller balances. Everything will be positive by the close of the fiscal year on June 30th.
All right, any questions on the student activities report? All right, hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the student activities report for April 2025 as presented. We have a motion and a second. Can you please open the vote?
Voting is open. The vote is unanimous. Motion passes.
Next up is the second reading for the textbook adoption.
Including backup materials, culinary careers, English 2 honors, and culinary arts principles and applications. We've had them all on display since the last meeting. I don't know if anybody's come in to see them, but as many of you are aware, we're on a textbook evaluation cycle where we are in a very good place now. We've been spending between probably $350,000 and $650,000 depending upon the year. This will be a lower year. Some of our larger years is when we buy an algebra or geometry book, those sort of things. But as we've continued to cycle through, we're in a very good place right now in terms of our history. Our history is always an expensive one as well. So each year we are now 3 to 5 years out and in a very good place. So I ask that we approve these adoptions as presented.
Any questions?
Just one. I know everything is going digital, and I see that there's digital options. Are you starting to go to the cycle where you're purchasing one for every student, or how are you adjusting to
Here's the
kind of
great thing. They've priced
for
it so it doesn't matter.
Okay, perfect. No more questions.
That's a great question, because you would think, like, when everything went digital and everybody had a device, we're like, oh, this is going to get really cheap. And they've priced it where the license is pretty close. I mean, Amy, Tracy, both of you have experiences. There's very little variance anymore, correct? Into the price.
The online version.
Yeah. So their bottom line doesn't change. But no, it's a very good question. We do buy the digital subscription or the pair-along. Yeah, good question.
Any further questions? All right, hearing none, I entertain a motion to adopt the textbooks as presented. We have a motion and a second. Can you please open the vote? Is it? I got about 15 kids in my house.
This vote is unanimous. Motion passes.
All right, next up is the second reading for the school handbook changes.
Nothing has changed since we presented last month, as we discussed a little bit. One of the additions was a small section on AI. There's going to be more and more by the time we adopt this next year, I think, in the terms of student discipline and structures and AI. It's certainly on the rise. but we did address what we think is appropriate at this time, and I've just asked that you approve the changes as presented. Once again, these went through our District 210 advisory with representatives from the community, students, and teachers and administrators, and a board member.
Any questions? I'll jump in. Maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Any guidance from the state or any legislation that's pending on AI in schools?
There is, but it's all over the place right
Is it?
now.
Okay.
So I was part of a call on Monday that they're trying to corral it just a little bit, but there are several draft bills out there, but we just don't know where it's going yet. But it's certainly something I think will probably come in the omnibus bill here in the next month, but I don't know where they're going yet.
Okay.
There was discussion on language on what to do with cell phones, I know. So that's even with cell phones, I think it's still great that you guys are using actual hard textbooks. I mean, 'cause there might be a moment soon in the next 3 to 5
Yeah, put
years in which
everything
they say
away.
put everything away. So the fact that we have hard textbooks is.
The challenge is going to be our kids have gotten so good now with their watches. They can
Oh, yeah.
text on their watches,
Oh,
where
yeah.
I can't even read one, so
I can't
but
either.
they can still text on their watch.
Or they whisper.
Yeah, so it's still comes, there's gonna be a lot of classroom discipline and management, and, but yeah, I think you're right. They're gonna have to wrap it all up into one.
And start to use the glasses too, right?
That's right.
Well, yeah, and you talked about additional professional development and things for staff so that they know how to maybe reformat lessons so that they're not as easy to just go to AI and
Well,
say, produce this for
our
me."
English teachers have already
Yeah.
discussed
Yeah.
that, more in-class writing.
Yeah.
And a perfect example are the ACT we just took 2 weeks ago. It was, students had to write it. Well, they typed it, but, no chance to embellish, so to speak.
And even in other subjects that, like you said, they're very creative in how they use those technologies. So I think it's gonna be great to add a little layer of that to all of the trainings that are coming up too.
Do most of you guys use Canvas as your online, or are they using Google Classroom, or no? It's Teams, right?
Teams, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Teams. Mhm.
But then they can lock the browser, right? There's a locking technique, right?
There's different classrooms and different teachers have different tools. There's just more and more.
I just didn't know if they
More
had
and
it
more.
with
I
them.
think over the summer, in fact, like in my inbox of my email is all these companies that have new developments.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna see a lot here in the next 9 months.
Yeah, I think they're on the horizon of just nothing,
Yeah.
honestly,
Locking it all down. Yeah.
maybe.
Could be.
All right. Well, with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the school handbook changes as presented. We have a motion and a second. Can you please open the vote?
Voting is open. Vote is unanimous, motion passes.
Next up, we have the tentative amended fiscal year 2025 budget.
Unless you want Mike to go through all of that again, as from the presentation earlier, we would just, we would ask for a motion to accept the tentative amended budget as presented, place it on display, and then we'll do the necessary steps and bring it back in June.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, can you please open the vote?
Voting should be open. Voting is open.
There we are.
Vote is unanimous, motion passes.
All right, next up, we have the audit services proposal, second reading.
And once again, we would recommend we go another 3 years with Warmer Rogers. We've changed partners within Warmer Rogers. They have different auditors come out every year. I did an administrative view, provide a list of other districts that currently use Warmer Rogers, and I believe how long they've been with them. We've had a successful relationship. It hasn't always been easy, The first couple years were challenging, and we would recommend to renew the 3-year contract. I think at that point, certainly would be fair for the board to have discussion about the possibility of going back to RFQ, request for qualifications, and interview other firms and get additional pricing. But I think where we are right now, going through with our bonds and our life safety, it would make sense to stay with them here over the next 3 years, and then at that time it might be time to have that discussion.
When did we start with them?
So
Oh,
it's,
wow.
it looks like 2016.
Say,
So
this is right-
so it's about
this was
this is
trying to-
nine
I
years.
came on, yeah.
Yep, mhm.
Is there any downside in terms of the ratings and things that we get by having the same company continue to do the audit? Like, is that a?
No, we've
a
never
ding
been
or
asked.
anything?
No, we've never been
Okay.
asked that question. No.
Yeah, the only, I don't want to say concern, but just one thing that sticks in my head is just having the same people come in, you get a little bit complacent and everyone kind of knows everyone, so you don't have maybe as watchful of an eye. But in talking to Dr. Tingley, they switch people and there's,
Really?
you
So we
know.
have new people here every year when they.
Yeah,
come,
new people are coming in every year,
Least
so it's
one of
not
them.
the same person walking in and, you know.
I just didn't know visually, like, anybody looked that close, like if they just saw that it was the same firm over
Yeah.
many years, if
Yeah.
they would be concerned that
Yeah.
that's the case.
No, it's a detailed process. I mean, they're on site. I've been impressed. I've only worked with 2 auditors in my career, and obviously they're very thorough.
All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the engagement with, I'll just abbreviate it, WRDR, as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can you please open the vote?
Voting is open. The vote is unanimous. Motion passes.
All right, next up, we have the workers' compensation insurance renewal.
So this is sort of standard operating procedure, getting ready for the new fiscal year. Work comp insurance renewal quoted at $415,580 as presented. We work with DeGuss and through the Illinois Counties Risk Management Trust, ICRMT. And then DeGuss and Associates gives us our program performance data and a renewal quote. Renewal quote is in there. It is down for the second time, which I think last year I said, hey, I haven't brought you anything that's down, and so this is down a second year. We had a couple of years post-COVID where usually we would get small credits, and then we actually had some true-ups and we owed. I think that just has to do with how some of their payroll analysis moved and changed. I do want to work with them and make sure that their payroll data are where I think they need to be. If there's any small adjustment to this, I'll make sure it's accounted for in the fiscal '26 budget. But other than that, happy to take any questions you have.
Any questions on the renewal? All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the workers' compensation insurance renewal for fiscal year 2026 as presented.
Second.
23 grand.
We have a motion and a second. Can you please open the vote?
Dana's the smart one with her umbrella. The smart one that brought your umbrella in.
Got a bunch of kids in there. Bunch of kids fighting.
Vote is unanimous. Motion passes.
All right, moving on. Under informational items, we have the report of the Lincoln Way Special Education District 843 Governing Board meeting held April 23rd, 2024.
Yeah, so at our last meeting, we were short a couple of members and bringing in our new members. The budget conversations continue. I know we've had some delays due to the transportation conversations that were happening about purchasing buses and leases, which caused some of the increase in the costs. The good news is that Sarah is looking into the new fund that could give us some reimbursement for students at Pioneer Grove through the state. That's a new addition to some revenue that we could get, or some reimbursement that we can get from the state for those students. We don't know the cost yet. We don't know how much that is, so that's kind of another factor that's going to be playing into how the budget for next year looks. But in terms of work, the fence project that will go around the playground will be starting soon. I think they have it slated for right after school ends, before extended school year starts, so hopefully that'll be done sooner rather than later.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
District 210 Advisory. Deidre's not here. Anything?
And nothing
Yeah.
to report. They haven't met since the last one. Then they're concluded for the school year.
Yep, okay. FOIA requests,
Included in backup materials,
buildings and ground reports,
also in backup.
community relations report,
One more, it's all there. Yep.
quarterly insurance report.
And then quarterly insurance is, as we brought up, we're running a slight deficit there the first quarter of the year, so some of the details are in there. Any questions, we'd be happy to answer them, but there is a more detailed report and something we'll continue to provide quarterly has been requested by previous boards.
The fiscal year 2026 budget calendar.
Just an update on the budget calendar, just the revisions that we talked about this evening. So everything's right there, so everybody knows when to expect the next proposal. Mike, anything to add to that? I think we're in pretty good shape.
First reading policies.
First reading, quite a few policy adjustments, footnotes. They're in your backup materials. We will discuss them in the June reading. This is typically kind of a large one to close out the school year. We'll have then another large policy update in the fall after this next legislative session.
Speaking of legislation, legislative report.
There's a lot going on. We'll kind of see where things land. One thing is positive in terms of, we brought up AI. There is legislation that we would not have to respond to AI-generated FOIA requests. That was kind of a thing here in the last 2 months, and so they're putting parameters in there where we can ask that they request they identify themselves and different codes, so that we just don't have to keep answering and answering and answering. And so that should be included here in a bill and pass through.
All right, superintendent's district report.
Just very briefly, we did take a district-wide ACT a couple weeks ago. We had 9 perfect 36 scores. That's the most we've ever had. Now, I anticipate the number will be 12 here by the end of the summer. That's just my guess. We had nearly 20 35s and nearly 20 34s. We are going to provide an opportunity for our students to test at Lincoln Way East in June. So Dr. Miller worked with ACT. We were able to open up a testing site. We will get some of our teachers to proctor it. We have a couple hundred students already signed up. Over a couple hundred. Okay. So our Lincoln Way juniors jumped right on that option. This test date, students will have the option to take it on their computer, digital, or paper pencil. They have the option. Our test a couple weeks ago was digital. So kids will have the option. So right now, students are asking teachers and counselors, what do you think, what do you think, what do you think? But we'll provide both, and I look forward. Well, it's really early in the game, Rich, and one of the things, so for instance, most of our students did do better than those students who took a February paper pencil. But at the same time, from February to now, they covered several of the math concepts in their Algebra 2 trig. So it's 6 of one, half dozen the other. Some of our students went down a little in science, but went up in the English portion from February. So I think we'll have to take a couple more tests to determine exactly where that lies. Tracy, anything in addition to that? I know it's very early in the process. Yeah, but we did have several students see very significant growth since their February Saturday test on their own. So
You give them an option to do either one?
correct. Yeah, you can take the option.
That's awesome.
And ACT is still doing that as well in June, July. Correct me if I'm wrong, September then we'll go digital and no science test, and everything changes in the fall. So we want to, our goal is to have our juniors at a really good place here by July where they're comfortable with where they're at. Yeah. So they'll have to, students will have to pay for the ACT in June, but they were pretty much sold out in the area. I know Lockport was full, Plainfield was full, so opening this up was a good deal. Yep.
Anything else for the superintendent?
else.
All right. Any other district business?
None at this time.
Any correspondence?
No correspondence.
And we're going to go to closed session.
We are. Do we have the list?
We're going to go to closed session
Okay, we will
for
go
the
to-
purpose of collective negotiating.
The appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of employees and student discipline.
And collective negotiating.
Collective negotiating.
All right, with that, I entertain a motion to go to closed session for those items.
So moved.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we're in closed session. Action after?
None.
No action after.